Greetings, BookTube. Tonight I will do my review of Artificial Wisdom by Thomas R. Weaver. Yes, I got it right, Thomas R. Weaver. This is a science fiction, murder mystery, political thriller, and dystopia novel. It was published in this year, in 2025, but an earlier independently published edition was published in 2023. Sorry. This book is about an AI politician, AI and climate change. It's interesting that when this book came out, it came out in 2025, this year, but also in 2023, when only a few months earlier in 2022, ChatGPT was started in late 2022. So it's interesting. This I would classify as dystopia. How do I explain this? Yeah. This is the most relevant book for our time, in my opinion, for future predictions when it comes to climate change and AI. So we don't know how prescient this book will be with predicting the future, but it is the most relevant for our day, in my opinion, for the now. So what's the book about, other than an AI politician and climate change? Well, the year is 2050. Though, long story short, the world is going to shit when it comes to climate change. And circumstances have become so bad that all the countries of the world have agreed to elect a global dictator to lead us through the climate change crisis. And it narrows down to two candidates. A former president of the United States named Lockwood, and an AI entity known as Solomon. Who do you vote for to lead us through the crisis? Now, there is a trade-off. You could take a risk with the human, with President Lockwood, and humanity will still fail to tackle climate change. Or you could go with the AI politician, with Solomon, but it means you will have to surrender some of your personal freedoms, so that the AI does not take into account anything other than saving humanity from itself. So, do you risk your freedom to save humanity? That is a difficult question to ask. So, that is the fundamental question this book is asking us. And so the story goes, there's this journalist named Marcus Tully, who had his wife die 10 years ago. The year is 2050, 10 years ago in 2040, in a natural disaster in the Middle East, where where there was a heat wave, the air temperature went up, but also the humidity went up, so that nobody can cool down with their skin. The humidity goes up so high, the air just is deadly. You're just cooked. The body just cannot cool down. And then there's the death of millions. It reminds me a little bit about the heat wave that I read about in, excuse me, in The Ministry for the Future by Stanley Robinson. There was another heat wave in that book as well. So the heat wave with the high humidity. So his wife died 10 years ago in that natural disaster in the Middle East. And so Tully is ruined by that. He is haunted by that. But he is also a journalist driven to tell the truth. He is an honorable person. A little bit too honorable, in my opinion, but we'll get to that in a moment. We'll get to that, I promise you. One day he gets as this election for global dictator looms, and he's reporting on it, he gets a tip-off from a whistleblower that that President Lockwood, the human candidate, was responsible for some kind of geoengineering, some kind of man-made weather disaster that caused that the humidity in the Middle East to go up exponentially and caused that. And then it's debatable if that was like a genocide or not. So allegedly, the disaster was man-made. So Tully goes out to expose the truth about that. That might be at the risk of the AI winning, but he values the truth above all. And then on top of that, so in the course of his investigation, he goes to the floating cities, which are these giant platforms that float over oceans, where hundreds of thousands of ultra-wealthy people live, where they live in luxury compared to the rest of the world that is experiencing the worst kinds of climate catastrophes, floods, famines, heat waves, and cold snaps, etc., 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 where the wealthy people go to ride out the apocalypse. He goes there to meet the inventor of to interview the inventor of Solomon, the AI, who is now a candidate for world global dictator. And while he's there, just before he has the chance to ask any more questions, this Martha, who invented Solomon, who created Solomon, dies, is murdered, supposedly by poison. And so a lot of this book goes into that murder investigation and to see if the conspiracy to conceal what happened in 2040 and to protect the reputation of President Lockwood, as well as the murder of the inventor of Solomon, if all of that is linked. So he tries to find how she was murdered and who did it, and if everything is linked. And so he's a journalist, and he has this team with him. His news site gang that goes around with him. And so there's a character named Livia, who is the sister of Martha, the person who created Solomon. She's working with Marcus Tully, and then they also work together with the chief investigator on the floating cities, a woman nicknamed October. I forgot what her real name was. October. Interesting. Anyway. Yeah. So, who wins the election, and what is the ultimate truth of what happened 10 years ago? You'll have to read this book. I just explained everything about the important, the relevant parts of the story. Now, what's interesting about about the technology in 2050 is everyone is connected to the internet, not with laptops or phones, but with headsets. So there are these earpieces you put here, and then I think there's like a glass in front of it or something. And I think it either projects into your mind or projects forward images. and then people exchange files and information and communication with that way. Everyone is like us today, glued to our phones, glued to their headsets, not literally. So it's like Tony Stark from the Iron Man films, where you see people doing this, and then send that file forward, and then pressing a button, a non-existent button in the air, the projections that they're doing like this. So everyone is doing that. Practically everybody, except for some anti-tech people. There's also this little pill that you get where you go into neuroreality. So this way you get complete privacy, and then you can invite someone into your private space, which is a virtual reality space that you create with computer programming, of course. Tully's is a hotel lobby. Some people have a park bench or a log cabin in the woods. Your ideal happy place where you sit and you can be by yourself and you can look through files in complete privacy. You take this pill, and then there's these little nanobots, these little robots that go into your bloodstream and then take your mind into the virtual reality. Once you choose to leave, like press the exit button, the nanobots have done their job and they just go through your digestion or your urine or whatever. It's a compromise. It's a compromise compared to putting an implant in your head, which people are terrified of. It's a violation of your privacy. So the compromise is these nanobots enter your bloodstream and then send you into this virtual reality. Later on, they find out that with a computer playing around with the program, people can be trapped in their virtual reality, which is a scary thing. They're just trapped in their they're trapped in their VR world until somebody else presses the exit button. So anyway, Solomon is an interesting character. The book tries to explain that he's a hologram, but not really. They even say holograms are out of date, which I don't understand. He can project himself onto your headpiece, and then he can talk to everyone simultaneously. And he has this human avatar, who, according to this cover, looks like Mitt Romney. Anyways. Yeah. So, Solomon, surprise, surprise, is programmed to feel emotion. And minor spoiler, surprise, surprise, Solomon is capable of lying. At the end of the book, like I said, minor spoiler, he's capable of lying. He has said to multiple characters different things about his motives and his actions. He admits he's capable of lying. He admits he's capable of scheming, etc., etc. And he says it in a very nonchalant, robotic kind of way. But he's capable of understanding human emotions. But anyway, he says different things to different people, and it's kind of left hanging in the air what really happened at the end. Because, like I said, Solomon said different things to different people. And, so I kind of like this because, like I said earlier, I like this book a lot. It's very relevant to today, 2025, and from 2023 until 2020 until now. Will it be relevant in the years to come? Maybe if there's different political trends, but I don't know. I give this book a 9 out of 10. A 9 out of 10, yeah. There is the writing is very fast-paced. The chapters are short, and it's relatively easy to follow, even though some of the technology is a bit more complicated. There is one flaw, though. It is clear that this is Thomas R. Weaver's first novel. It is his first novel, and it is evident that it is through the way he writes. Because Tully and some of these other characters are a bit too competent. Hyper-competence. It's strange because they don't... there's very few scenes where there's raised voices. I was thinking there would be more scenes where people would murder suspects would push back harder. They cooperate. People cooperate too well here. There are a few fights, and there are, wait for it, few people going in and out, crawling in and out of each other's beds and rooms. And there were multiple opportunities for various characters to do that, but they chose not to. Nobody moved in for a kiss. Nobody gave a wink wink. I thought, why not? Maybe it's because, and here's the next terrifying part. In the floating cities, there are surveillance cameras everywhere. They are more subtle, and the surveillance is more subtle, but there is in this world where everything is interconnected, there is very, very little physical privacy in the real world. To get your privacy, you have to be in your virtual reality space. So maybe that's why people are reluctant to, get down. You know what I'm saying? So I found it really weird that people didn't do stupid things in this book. Didn't do as many stupid things, if you know what I mean. They didn't raise their emotion with shouting, and they didn't and they focused on their jobs. They didn't get distracted as easily. The characters are too competent, in my opinion. Hyper-competence. I guess that's a fantasy fulfillment, I don't know. So yeah, other than the characters being too competent, I like this book, actually. There were a lot of unanswered questions near the end of the book, but I guess that's the point. It is up to the reader to interpret. The ending is somewhat... it is conclusive ending, but there is a bit of ambiguity at the end. And I liked it. I think that ambiguity belonged there. But other than the characters behaving too well, the book was very good. I liked it a lot. And like I said earlier, is it relevant? Will it be relevant in the future? I guess we'll find out. Okay, thank you for listening in.